All right. While Coach Riley's there handing out the packets, we'll probably go ahead and get rolling. So raise your hand if you are a new coach this year, like you didn't coach Little League or Town Team last year. A couple of you, okay. All right. Raise your hand if you are only doing Little League. Only Little League. Raise your hand if you're doing only Town Team. And raise your hand if you're double dipping. Yeah, okay. So it's going to be a busy season, as you guys know. It always is, especially with more kids you have in different programs and coaching. But hopefully we've got things organized for you so that way you can feel confident in coaching your team, whether it's Little League or Town Team. And then not only that, help them learn the skills that are necessary depending on what level they're at. So we'll go through some of the information. For right now, we're going to have all the Little League and Town Team coaches together, and what we'll discuss is going to be the updates that we've had since last year. I'll just briefly talk about the Little League and Town Team website, especially the coaches page, so that way you know exactly where to go to for all that information. Our first pitch ceremony that we started last year and we'll be continuing this year. We've also developed some code of ethics for different groups, including coaches. Our Dominate the Diamond video resources to help plan your practices. And then after this has all been talked about and shared, Little League coaches, you'll have the chance to head out into the foyer area, the cafeteria area, and if you see the other coaches that are on the roster with you, and you want to get together and start just kind of brainstorming potential things for Little League, though that time between either the time between games or that time before games that you have to like practice some of them skills. There's some really good basic stuff in that Dominate the Diamond. So if you want to utilize that time to dig into that and see what ones you want to kind of cover, like basic catching drills, basic throwing drills, tee hitting drills, all that stuff, it's all on that website. Updates since last year. The list is long, we're glad to say. We are continuing with our sponsorship levels. So if you are aware of a business that is interested in being a sponsor, you can certainly spread the word. Ryan Burke at Think Custom is our touch point guy. So if you know of a business that's interested at doing any kind of sponsoring, you're going to want to direct them to him. He is also on our website. I'll show you the sponsorships page when we get there. But different levels. We have our team sponsors. We have the same number of Little League teams as last year, which is kind of nice because that means all of our sponsors are back with those. And then we have our outfield sponsors with the signs. And then the two banks have sponsored the fields once again. The shelter house. If you guys know by the big field, there's that shelter house that kind of sits along the left foul line. Doesn't get used a lot. We did reach out to the family. It was originally built and donated by the Dittmer family, and we've gotten permission to convert that into a second storage area. So we're, with the portable mound that we have now and some other pieces of equipment, we felt the need to kind of find more storage, and converting that into storage is really going to help us do that. We've also got some potential ideas that we're bouncing around, some options, with the concession stand, but more of that will be shared along the way. Umpire clinics. Town team coaches in particular, we're adding some umpire clinics, and those clinics are going to help us to guarantee the consistency of the new rules, which we'll talk about during the town team meeting. But the umpire clinics will be available once again. We have a new league that we have formed for Town Team called the Driftless League with a stable set of rules that we'll talk about during the Town Team time. We also have new portable sound system. So if you are at Little League games, you guys know how difficult it is sometimes to wrangle up the players. When it's time for your game to come up, you're just kind of hollering at the kids, like, go find other kids in the same colored shirt. Well, now we actually have portable speakers with microphones that you can use for the Little League games as well as Town Team games if you want to use those systems. New batting cages. The nets for both batting cages are brand new this year. So no holes. They're mouse free, right, Wiley? Okay, so they've been protected. They're brand new. They're going to be going up here in the next week or two. We have a new second L screen for the new batting cage that was put up last year. And we have a new popcorn maker. So hopefully it cranks out some delicious popcorn for everybody this season. The website, and this is something that I recommend you guys bookmark, you go to whenever you need resources, and that is going to be our Warrior Little League Town Team website. This is where we literally try to house everything. So that way, after today, if you misplace this packet, you can always go here and everything there is there, except for your team roster. With that one, you're on, well, we can email those to you as well. The website is completely mobile friendly, and you can even add the website as a shortcut to your phone if you want to know how to do that, where it looks like one of the apps right on your home screen. I could show you how to do that if you're interested in that. And the coaches page. So when you go to our website and you're on our home screen, we have a tab at the top for all of our coaches. If you go to resources, it'll take you to the page where it'll have the recording, the coaches' conversation. Right now I'm doing a screen recording, so any coaches that aren't here, they'll hear the same conversation. I have a video there that describes the Dominate the Diamond website on how to access it. There's also the login information, so that way you can access that. The clothing order that we will get to for town team coaches in a bit, and the Game Changer app. And we'll talk more about the Game Changer app and why that is going to be a very, very important, useful tool for us this season. So as I said, when we try to house everything here, we really do. We want to make sure you guys have everything you need at any given time so you feel supported and confident in helping your team. Our first pitch ceremony last year, Whopper is what he's often referred to as, and he was our first first pitch ceremony guy. And the intent behind that was to sort of kick off the ball season, and that's always the Little League games first. They kick off the ball season for us. So this year we will be recognizing another individual that will be throwing out our first pitch. And that's done right before our first Little League game. So that night, 10 minutes before the game is scheduled to start, there'll be an email that goes out before then saying, please come join us for the first pitch ceremony, and we'll be sure to recognize this individual. Typically, it's someone who's given a lot of volunteer time to the youth ball programs over the course of whatever year span has been in our history. Dominate the Diamond, I just talked about it a little bit. That's a website that we have purchased as a board for you guys, and there's so many instructional videos on there, it's insane. And they have it all broken down to different levels. So you can really dig into any of those videos, because I know sometimes as a coach, you're kind of like, not sure exactly what to work on. You can go in there and you can really find those videos to help you learn them, or you can actually use them in some way, shape, or form by sending them in some way to your parents, so that way they can learn as well. But that's our login. Raise your hand if you have utilized the Game Changer app at some point during your child's sports recreation life. Anybody that has never used the Game Changer app before? Okay. So the Game Changer app essentially is three things in one. The main thing that I've used it for over the years is communication. It is so helpful in communicating with your entire team all at once. Not only that, if you're a town team coach, something that we are really going to be pushing is the use of the scoring and the stats, because you can basically do all your bookkeeping right there. You can have a mom or dad over here in the stands keeping the entire score, bookkeeping of the game, and you can just coach. That's all you have to worry about, which is really handy. One thing that I did try out last year and got a lot of positive feedback from family members is the live streaming. So if you're really tech savvy enough to set up a separate video feed, you can live stream the games. Grandma and grandpa who live out of state can watch the games live. And if you notice, it actually has the stats right at the top of the video feed like a real baseball game. It's nuts. So really handy for family to stay in touch and follow the kids during that game play. What we will be utilizing it most for Little League is the scheduling of games. So once Coach Wiley has sort of like that schedule all laid out in a spreadsheet, He hands it off to me. I take that and I create all the teams in the league, in our little league, and then get all that stuff scheduled. And then it's just a matter of getting you guys joined to the app. And we get a lot, like on our packet pickup night, we get all the parents signed up on that, so that way they're all in on it. It's just really handy because if we have to cancel a game due to weather, I mean, today is definitely a case in point here, is we want to be able to do that effectively and efficiently, so we can communicate that through the app, and I can also just delete the game or cancel the game, and immediately everybody in that game gets a notification. So you understand why the game was canceled, due to weather, due to whatever, maybe. It seems like it's always something every year, but. All right, so this is the point where Little League coaches, if you're only doing Little League, you get to break off. And if you see another coach here that's a part of your roster, you are more than welcome to utilize some time out in the foyer to have conversations about this current Little League season. Or if you have questions about anything coming up for Little League and you want to be able to ask a board member, I guess a board member, we can raise our hands so you can see who's on the board. If one of us maybe wants to go out with the Little League coaches and helps answer some questions for them and get them feeling good. Otherwise, we just need the town team coaches to stick around for some further information that pertains to only you guys. So, see ya. Looks like Wiley's going out there with the Little League coaches. Town team coaches. You see your roster in the packet there. That kind of gives you an idea of who's on the team. I will tell you, we were changing that literally up until about 10 minutes before this meeting because we still have some families that we've noticed are not on there, and we think that they're probably going to go out. So we've reached out to them to see if they are still interested in doing town team or not. But as of right now, as of this current moment, that's your roster. So if you have any questions or concerns about that, you can certainly address it with any of us board members, but that's essentially who signed up. Also for the Game Changer app, we'll talk about that. Coaching apparel, I guess we don't need Wiley necessarily to talk about that, but we'll share information about that. The gear bags that are out there, practice schedule, field cleanup, umpires, and concession stand workers. So let's get started with the new league and rules. So as many years as I've been involved in the program, and it sounds like this was occurring even before I was on the board, is that we would essentially have Clayton Ridge, MFL Marmac, Postville, some Keyhigh teams, some Waukon teams, basically any coaches who were interested in scheduling some games. They would all meet here at Central, and we all schedule those games, which is exactly what we're going to do at 3 o'clock today. Or hopefully at least one coach for your team is going to be here to do that. The issue that we were having over the years that we kept hearing every single year was you're showing up to a field and you're basically playing by home field rules. So the rules would change, some would stay consistent, but sometimes they would change depending on which field you were showing up at. That got to be somewhat frustrating for coaches. So myself, Nate Sandstrom, Brad Rose from Postville, and Kyle Sperfslocky from Clayton Ridge, we put in base for like the last month and a half, twice a week. We've been sitting down and having conversations and developing rules specifically to town team and the different grade divisions. So, I guess that's on the next one. Town team rosters. Nope, maybe not. I'll just talk about it here. So with that is going to be included a new website that's going to house all of our league rules. So it's different than our Warrior Little League town team. Our league is called the Driftless League, because of like the Driftless area up here in Northeast Iowa. And it's kind of like that league of teams that are involved. And so with those rules, you'll be able to go to the website. I'll share more right before our scheduling meeting today at 3 o'clock, and you'll be able to see all the rules available for your particular grade levels. You'll also see how we're trying to set up consistency in those rules, especially with umpires. So more to share at 3 o'clock. Code of ethics. So on the back of this packet, you guys will have the coach's code of ethics. And the coach's code of ethics is essentially what we, as a board, we've, over the course of the last 2-3 years maybe, every once in a while, I won't say it happens every week, but it just every once in a while, we may get an email or a phone call from a parent or a coach of something that's popped up. As a board, we are not necessarily big brother here to play referee. That's not the board's job. But we felt what might help this season for coaches is if we sat down and sort of laid out some of those things that we would like to see exhibited by our coaches within our league. And then on our website, our Warrior Little League Town Team website, underneath Town Teams, Parents Code of Ethics, you'll be able to pull up what we've put in place for the parents as well as the players. Do with these code of ethics what you wish. If you sit down at the beginning of the season with your parents and your team, and you usually have a conversation about practices and this and whatever, you're more than welcome to use these code of ethics as a way to guide conversations with parents and kids. One thing that we've included in there, maybe it's only a pet peeve of mine, but in terms of code of ethics for parents, from the first pitch to the last out, it is imperative that I keep these 15 4th and 5th graders focused on baseball. I can't do that if mom, dad, grandma, and grandpa keep coming over to the dugout and talking to their kid through the fence in between innings, thinking that the life advice you have is going to change their performance at the next at bat. It's not. I promise you. So what we basically try to lay out in the code of ethics is let the coaches coach and let the parents parent and let the kids play. And if we can manage that and support that, that's what us as a board really want to be able to do. So we're just trying to put these out there for you to be able to use and go by. It's not necessarily something that, if a coach is really being unethical in some way, shape, or form, maybe we might have a conversation with the coach, but we've never ran into that. So, and I don't foresee us running into that. But we really felt like putting this in place might help conversations as we move forward. The shirts, hats, and the visors. So we're in the process of, we're not quite sure yet if we're going to have a new design this year or not. There was, Mr. Wiley's in charge of a class called Leadership and Service. And so there were some 7th graders in there that were really interested in creating a new design. I'm not sure if it's ready for that yet, but what will end up when it is ready, we'll get that information out to you. But essentially, you'll be given a promo code for the website, the online order, and that will send that out in an email. And with that promo code, you'll be able to get essentially the cost of the shirt off your total. So like, if it's a hat and a shirt combo, whatever, you'll get it for free. We as a board pay for that out of our pocket in order for you guys to feel like you're looking like a coach, you can feel confident as a coach, and because you're a volunteer, that should not come out of your pocket. So we take care of that. So with that promo code, use that and you'll be able to get what you need. If you've coached in the past and we end up using the same design and you're like, yeah, my shirt from last year works, use that $30 on something else out of the store. It's yours to do what you want. Game Changer app, I'm not going to go over it again. Is anybody who's used Game Changer, what's one thing that in using it, you were like, I really appreciated this about this app? Jackie.
We put all of our games on it, and then we make people RSVP. So I spend a lot of time making sure like rosters are 100% even, especially in the younger grades for how much they play. And knowing ahead of time if the people are going to be there or not is huge. You reassign everybody the minute that they walk in there, and 3 people aren't there. It's terrible.
Yeah, you don't have to guess. It's really nice. I really like it because I can put the exact Google location in the event. I'd be like, this game away against so and so at this ball field. And literally, as a parent, when I pull that up, I can then click on the map and it says, do you want to open this up in Google App or Apple Maps or Google? And it pulls up your map app on your phone and you got driving directions straight to the field. I've never had a parent call me and be like, we're at another field, you know, like none of that miscommunication. It's really nice. Any other examples? I've used the stats quite a bit as a coach, as a town team coach, to help me plan the next practice. If I know that we are struggling with our hitting and it's been apparent the last 2 games and I have numbers to back up why we need to start focusing on our hitting, you can use it that way too. Equipment. Out in the foyer, as soon as we're done here, you guys are going to receive your equipment for the season. It's going to get 2 sets of gear as far as catcher's gear. You'll also receive a catcher's glove in there, 2 to 3 bats, roughly. I think we might have more if you want to exchange some bats out in the storage shed. You can exchange some out. A helmet bag with some helmets and a bucket of balls. Please communicate to your parents that they are not required to buy their kids their own bat. That is not a requirement. We provide bats, we provide catcher's gear, we provide helmets, we provide everything. If they really, 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 really want to go and spend that money themselves, they're more than welcome to. But what we ultimately end up having is one kid just hoards their bat and doesn't let anybody else use it or whatever. And it's really annoying to hear those arguments in the dugout, honestly. So we could definitely provide that stuff for you. If you notice that any of the stuff is totally broken, unusable, please reach out to our board members and we will get that replaced for you as soon as we can.
Well, hey, one more thing.
Oh yeah.
I do highly recommend that every coach keeps their equipment with them and not store it in the shed, because you're going to be responsible for this stuff, and if somebody goes in the shed and opens your bag and takes stuff out of it, we might not be able to find it again, so I just hold on to it.
Keep it in the back of your truck, van, whatever. If you really want to store it, like if you had a home game and you got to practice the next day, I keep it in the shed, honestly.
Yeah.
But the shed is always available. Shelf space on the shed is always available for you.
I don't know if you've ever been down there during Little League games, but kids are running in and out of there and they're getting stuff, and I just would hate to see them run off with some of your stuff.
You'll also get a full bucket of balls that are regulation based on our rules, so use those for practices or games. Keys, you want to talk about keys?
I do have keys as well. Unless you still have a key from last year, just hold on to it. But if you need a key, talk to me after this meeting.
You'll also be returning those at the end of the season too, so please make sure you keep track of it. Scheduling games and practices. So you guys are going to experience the scheduling meeting at 3 o'clock. If you haven't already, what we try to do is we just set up certain tables. We'll say like 2nd and 3rd grade boys baseball, sit at this table. If you're 4th and 5th grade softball, sit at this table. And then the other teams that come in from out of town will also sit at the same table. And then you guys are all right there to kind of hash out what games you want to schedule. As far as practice times go, once we have those games on the calendar, you'll want to reach out, and Wiley, feel free to chime in on this, but you'll want to reach out to Wiley and say, we would really like Saturday mornings at this time and Wednesdays at this time or whatever. And so he'll be able to say the fields are available or not. That guy right there is our main scheduler, manager of the ball field's schedules. He'll know exactly who's on what field at what day on what time. So you always want to check in with him.
So I just scheduled the 2 fields down by, like, the old steel barn, okay, down our association diamonds. I do not schedule the softball field below the school here. That you would need to contact the school about. That's an option if you have or want to schedule that. That happened last year where people did that. I have nothing to do with scheduling that at all. But the 2 diamonds, Freed Bank Field and Central State Bank Field, I just schedule
And now also in terms of scheduling games, now that we have an established league with an established set of rules at every grade level, we really want to try to promote our league first, which means we would appreciate that, you know, coming to the scheduling meeting, get those games scheduled with the teams here first, and then if there's a coach from out of town that wasn't here, that's not a part of one of those teams, that says they want to get some games scheduled, that's totally up to you. We just want to make sure that the teams that are here today get scheduled on your calendar first, because we all abide by the same rules. If there's a team from Cresco that reaches out to you or whatever, by all means, you have total freedom to do that. I just don't know what rules you want to go by, so you got to figure that out. So we just want our league to take precedent first. Packet pickup night is something that we will definitely be communicating out to parents. That's, if you want to add it to your calendar, it's Friday, April 14th from 4:30 to 6:30, right out here in the high school commons. That's for town team coaches. And then in the past, I wasn't sure about this, Wiley. In the past, we've had town team coaches there as well, but I don't think we had them there last year, and we did just fine scheduling concession stand.
Right, we did not. Most of the packet pickup is for Little League, and
Or, yeah.
scheduling for concessions for Little League, so we did not do that last year. Each team's coach was responsible for having your concession stand covered. Obviously, if you can't get it covered, then you don't open the concession stand.
Yeah.
That's something to relate to your parents that.
And I'm gonna-
Should be on you as a coach to be going and finding people, have them sign up. That's the least they can do. You guys are spending all your time coaching the kids. You shouldn't also be worried about scheduling when people are coming to the concession stand. You send it out to them, here are the dates, sign up. They don't sign up. My wife got to the point of basketball, she just started assigning them.
And I'll talk more about that on another slide here pretty soon. But as far as field cleanup goes, it's supposed to be next weekend. It depends on what weather's doing, but our makeup date will be April 15th. And this will be for the 6th and 7th grade boys and girls teams only. So we are encouraging the players and coaches for those two teams to bring along some materials at 9 a.m. We got leaves that always get caught in the fence line and some other things to spruce up around the ball fields as well. So here's what we're talking about as far as the responsibility of the town team coaches. Number one is making sure that you are finding your umpires. So if you have more than one coach for your team, we'll have a whole list of umpires with phone numbers ready to go for you. You just need to reach out to people on that list and see who's available for the games that you have scheduled for your home games only. Okay? So we'll find the people and the numbers, but you need to pick which ones are scheduled. And then for the concession stand, as Wiley was mentioning, you'll want to make sure that you have workers available. We'll have a whole spreadsheet created that you just need to let parents know we're responsible for finding workers on this night at this time. Who can work? And then you're punching them in. Sometimes we're like, if we have a 4-5 baseball game occurring on the big field at the same time that a 2-3 softball game is happening on the small field, then who's in charge of finding the workers at that point? Well, both teams. Game 1 will be found by this team, game 2 will be found by this team. If it's just us scheduled that night, let's say 4-5 baseball, we need to have workers for game 1 and we got to have workers for game 2. And we'll have that all laid out on the spreadsheet. So we're just trying to make sure everybody's doing their share. So what I would recommend is, as coaches, like for example myself, I know Chris and Trent Camp are the 3 coaches for 4-5 baseball, we're probably going to want to designate who wants to be sort of the main contact communicator guy that maintains the Game Changer app. Who wants to be the person then to sort of find your umpires and your concession stand workers? You know, divide and conquer a little bit if you want to do that. So now's your time for coaches. If you want to get together before our scheduling meeting, you got an hour and a half, but we got some time before then. What I would definitely recommend is determining who plays what role as coaches. You don't want it to all end up on one coach. You could also probably talk about how do we want to plan our practices? Do we want one coach showing up with a plan and running it past the other coaches when they get there? Or how do you want to put that together? Go over the league rules. I need to upgrade the domain so that the URL works. So I will have that shared out here in a second. It's going to be thedriftlessleague.com is what it's going to end up being, but that's not quite set up yet. The code of ethics, you can look over that, set up practice times with Wiley after our scheduling meeting, and then set up your team. You can start setting up your team on Game Changer if you want, since you have your roster now. So you could at least create the team, put it together, put the players in there, and all that. And again, I have all those videos right there on our coach's webpage of our website. Or if you have any questions about it, you can ask me too. Any questions for town team? That was a lot of stuff to roll through, I know.
I got one question. So I know you guys are gonna have a list of officials,
Yes,
and I know they're supposed to take a class this year.
yes.
But last year, I had a terrible time of any of them getting back to me. Like, even if they couldn't do it, they just wouldn't respond. And I sent out multiple messages. At that point, can we just get a parent or something to do it if nobody responds?
Yeah, so what I would say is, if I am at a game, if I'm at a level where I'm like 4, 5, or 6, 7, and you're gonna want 2 umpires, one behind the plate, one at the bases, at 2, 3, you could probably just get away with 1 umpire. When you look at the rules, you could totally just do 1 umpire. But what I would say is, if you can get 1 umpire there, great. And then if you need Uncle Bill from the stands to fill in the bases, have him fill in at the bases for sure. But we plan to reiterate to our umpires the professionalism of communication for sure.
That's what they do at the junior high levels as well. Just they want to have 1 certified official. So I think if you have 1 person that's gone through the test and the clinic, we hope that they would kind of be umpires.
Yeah. Other questions? All right, well, I'm going to finalize the Driftless League website stuff and have that ready to go. And we'll meet back in here at 3 o'clock because I'm going to go through that website briefly. And then we'll get to the scheduling meeting and get our games all scheduled up. All right.